Here are some material editor basics that you can use to sort of get up and running, just making cool shit quicker than you might think you could. For starters, if you hold T, you make a texture sample node. This is where you can choose a texture. I'm going to sort of find some concrete tiles, plug them in there in base color. Now it looks like that. And I'm going to do the same and grab the normal map for this, which is conc tile n. Plug that into normal. In the preview window here, if I hold L and click and drag, I can move the sun around, which is good for visualizing my normal maps and shadows. Maybe I want to change the color of these tiles. Everything in here is just numbers, RGB or XYZ, depending on your context. I can multiply that color by some other color. If I hold M, I place a multiply node. If I hold 3, I place a color, really a vector 3. 3 numbers, RGB, although these can represent not a color but a direction or a location or whatever you want. So if I multiply that by pink, I get pink tiles, so that's nice. Now, let's say I want a little bit more variation than just it's pink now. Let's say I want to modulate that by something. Let's add another one of these, but this one can be blue. And we're going to blend between pink and blue based on a secret third thing. Like, let's see. I'm going to hold L to create a linear interpolate node. Lerp. A of that is going to be the pink. B is going to be the blue. I'm going to plug that in now, and the alpha is set to 0.5, so we're half pink, half blue, so we're purple. But we want something else in the alpha. So for instance, I could just plug the red channel in as the alpha. That gets us basically the same result because this texture is gray. So let's place a new texture. Hold T, click again. I'm going to search low res blurred noise because that is a noise texture that I like. You could also generate your own noise at runtime. It's a little bit more expensive, which doesn't super matter, but I like to use a texture in this case. So we're going to plug that into the alpha, and now we are blue where this texture is white or 1, and we're pink where it's black. It never quite is black. If we have a look at this texture, it's just gray. Maybe we want a little bit more contrast. You can add contrast to something by dragging off it and making a power node. We've got an exponent here. Now if I right click on any node, I can preview just that node. So first I'll preview just this noise. Right click, start previewing node. That's just the noise. If we right click the power, preview that, this is after we power it. It's got a little bit more contrast. Let's crank that up to 8. It's a lot more contrast, there's a lot more black on it, but now it's dark. So let's multiply it back up. Hold M, click, you get a multiply node. Let's multiply it by 8 again, and then we can start previewing that. It's brighter again. Let's plug that in as the alpha. Now to stop previewing this node, right click, stop previewing. A cool thing to do is bind that to a button, so you press spacebar to start and stop previewing. Now I have blue only in certain places. Let's get a little bit less contrast again. Whoa, cool. Now, maybe I want that to pan, or maybe I want the concrete to pan. Before I do that, I just want to try get some more contrast on the concrete itself. Oh, that's too much. Multiply it back up again. So we're really just futzing with numbers to get a nice looking result. So, what UVs are we using here? Well, this is a cube mesh, and it has UVs, and we are using the first UV set. It probably only has one UV set, although it might have 2, which is common for something that uses light maps. You use a separate UV for the light map. If I right click here and type texture coordinate, this is my texture coordinate. I can set which UV set I want to use here, that's coordinate index, and I can mess with the tiling. Let's plug this into the UVs on both the normal map and the diffuse. This is already getting a little messy, so I'm going to use a reroute node here. Just double click on a wire and move it, and you can get around things, so that's nicer. I'll neaten this up a bit. So if I mess with the tiling here, what happens if I put 2 in to both channels? I have tiles, twice as many tiles, right? If I put 0.5 in, it's like that, and I can put different values in each so that I can stretch it if I want to. In this case, I don't want to. I'm just going to put in a nice 3 for both of those. We get quite a lot of tiles. Actually, no, 2 is better. Okay, so let's get rid of this lerp we did over here. Actually, no, let's not. I want to show you one more thing before I get rid of the color changing. Let's get rid of the alpha that we have, the noise. And I'm going to switch this to an orb so that we can see what we're looking at here. So I want to make it, maybe I want snow on top of this orb. Maybe I want it to be that anything that I place in the world using this material has snow on top of it and only on top. And let me rotate the object around and still only get snow on the top. So what I need for that is the normal. If I use the buffer visualization, I guess it's not in the material editor. I'll do it in the level editor. If I go to show, no, lit, buffer visualization, and overview, I can see a bunch of different views. World normal is the one I'm interested in up top. You can see that we have the direction that each polygon is facing, or each pixel is facing, on everything in the world. If we have that information in the material editor, that means we can use it to only get the upwards facing verts, right? So let's find our vertex normal. No, our pixel normal. The normal is, if you imagine an arrow pointing out from each face in the direction it is pointing. Maybe there's a visualizer for it in here. There's not, whatever. That's the direction. So pixel normal, right? It's a vector 3. So you've got, this can represent a direction, basically. The direction that would be straight up would be just 0, 0, 1. So we want to find out how close is the pixel that we're looking at to facing directly up, which is 0, 0, 1. For that, we can use a dot product, plug that in there, and this is basically going to tell us how close these two are to coinciding. So let's plug that into alpha and see what we have. Oh look, we already have only blue on the top, right? And there's no blue down here. And if I apply this, and I apply this material to something in the world, like let's place a cylinder. I'll scale it up. And I'll apply this. There is blue only on the top of this. If I rotate it, oh nice, there's a nice gradient. So the closer a pixel of this is to facing straight up, the more it gets blue. So that's a nice thing. And you can plug anything into the alpha and you can get all kinds of different results. So if you wanted to, I don't know, make it so that you only got the snow in the cracks, say, like someone swept it, you could do that. You could, if you have a mask for the cracks. All right, so getting rid of that, I'm going to unhook it. Now I have this orphaned bit of graph, right? This isn't plugged into anything, and because it's not plugged into anything, the clean graph button will let me just remove it all at once. And be careful with that. Make sure you don't remove anything that you actually do still want lying around. So last thing is I'm just going to show you how to pan this. So there's a lot of things you can do with time, but in this case I'm going to do something super duper simple, and I'm just going to add a panner. Right click, panner, and I'm going to hold left click and drag this to grab both of these wires, the one going into the diffuse and the one going into the normal, and chuck it into the panner. And I'm going to, as you can see, I've lost my higher density tiles. But if I plug this texture coordinate into our panner, we're back where we were. Nothing's happening though, because our speed is at 0. So let's put 0.1 into X, and now it's sliding that way. If we put minus 0.1, it's sliding that way, and then we can get some vertical going as well. So these are your UVs, right? And a UV, like everything in here, is just a number. It's 2 numbers actually. It's a constant 2. You can place one of those by holding 2 and clicking anywhere. Just as making a color, you hold 3 to click, and you can use the color picker to make a color. And holding 1 and clicking gives you a single number, a constant. So maybe I want to distort this. What's a cool way to distort the tiles? Well, we can just add some value to the UVs. So let's get rid of the panner for now. And let's take this texture coordinate and we will add some amount. And the amount we're going to add is going to be just using a noise texture. So hold T, click, type low res blurred noise. This is just a texture that I like for noise. And plug that into R. Now I want to grab all these wires, so I'll just unhook this one, grab these, hook that up again. And now we're super distorted because for every pixel of here, we're taking the UV and we're adding some amount from this texture, which again looks like this. Now that's pretty hardcore, right? That's a lot. So you guessed it, let's just multiply that by a small number like 0.1 and plug that in. Now it's only wobbled a bit. What if we panned this? 0.1 and 0.1, plug that in to the noise, and now we have a cool swimmy concrete wall. That's pretty sick. Now, you can do all kinds of things, like what if we wanted it to be that, I don't know, only the darkest parts on this noise texture that's panning are wet. Let's just grab the roughness. We'll lerp again, linear interpolate. We'll make the alpha this. And you can see, maybe I'll flip this around, that only parts of this are shiny, and it's the parts that we're not distorting as much at the moment. Which is sort of probably the opposite of what it should be if it's supposed to be water or something, but yeah. So now it kind of looks like it's rippling in the wind or something, like it's a flag. I don't know. You can also rotate stuff. There's a rotator node, which will let you spin your thing around. I've plugged it in the wrong place, haven't I? Let's put it in here. Oh. As you can see, I haven't plugged that into the normal, so the lighting information from the normal is still just the same. Alright, so that's just some cool basics that I wanted to show you. Yeah, that'll probably do for now. Oh, I want to plug something into emissive, just for fun. Let's make a nice green creepy glow. Plug that in there. Too much, too much. Let's power it. That'll kind of add contrast. Cool, spooky. Alright. Laters.